Today we celebrate Good Friday, the day in which our Lord was crucified and laid in a tomb. While the Gospel is lengthy, I will read just a small passage from it, describing the death of Jesus. The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. "Take him yourselves and crucify him. I find no guilt in him," Pilate said. The Jews answered, "We have a law, and according to that law he ought to die, because he made himself the Son of God." Now when Pilate heard this statement, he became even more afraid, and went back into the praetorium and said to Jesus, "Where are you from?" Jesus did not answer him. So Pilate said to him, "Do you not speak to me? Do you not know that I have the power to release you, and I have the power to crucify you?" Jesus answered him, "You would have no power over me if it had not been given to you from above. For this reason, the one who handed me over to you has the greater sin." Consequently, Pilate tried to release him, but the Jews cried out, "If you release him, you are not a friend of Caesar. Everyone who makes himself a king opposes Caesar." When Pilate heard these words, he brought Jesus out and seated him on the judge's bench, in the place called Stone Pavement, in Hebrew Gabbatha. It was preparation day for Passover, and it was about noon. And he said to the Jews, "Behold your king." They cried out, take him away, crucify him." Pilate said to them, "Shall I crucify your king?" The chief priests answered, "We have no king but Caesar." Then he handed him over to be crucified. The Gospel of the Lord. My mother was struck by a car at the age of 21. The impact shattered her left leg, leaving an 8-inch scar along her knee. Although her leg was fully healed by the time I learned the story, that scar always reminded me of the pain that once was. I could trace my finger along it and she'd twinge. Pressing it brought back memories. In a sense, Mom was both wounded and healed. That's why she had such empathy, and why she spent 2 decades of her life as a nurse healing other people. She remembered the sting of pain long after being healed. In the Gospel, Jesus begins walking the long road to Calvary. He's betrayed by the kiss of a friend. He sweats blood. He watches the other disciples scurry like mice as he's led away in chains. Once in custody, he's mocked, beaten, and spit upon. A crown of thorns is pressed onto his head. Finally, his hands and feet are nailed to a cross while his mother stands and watches in horror. Like being struck by a car, Jesus' heart is shattered, his body is racked with pain. His slow and brutal death is foretold in the Psalms. "Like water, my life drains away. All my bones are disjointed. My heart has become like wax, it melts away within me." That's a day we would want to forget. So why does the Lord still bear his scars after his resurrection? When he appears to doubting Thomas, for example, Jesus says to him plainly, "Put your finger here, and see my hands, and bring your hand and put it into my side. Do not be unbelieving, but believe." To which Thomas responds, "My Lord and my God." Maybe you've seen the famous work by Caravaggio depicting this scene. Thomas's eyes nearly burst out of their sockets as he slides his finger into the healed side of Christ, revealing that Jesus is somehow wounded and healed. But again, why bear the eternal memory of such an awful day? Just as my mother would twinge slightly when I ran my finger along her scar, so our tears cause the Lord to twinge with compassion. He keeps his scars to remember his pain, and by extension to remember ours. Jesus felt the cry of every person while dying on the cross that Friday afternoon. This is our hope on Good Friday, that the Lord understands our pain and He seeks to comfort us. We've all had Good Friday experiences. Some of us may still feel stuck in sadness or grief. Whether it's been the isolation and anxiety caused by COVID, struggles with mental health, the loss of a loved one, or any other hardship, we all carry scars. But we believe in a God who's also been scarred, meaning we should think of our own Good Friday experiences in the context of Easter Sunday to come. Like Jesus, we can not only be wounded, but also healed. So where have we been wounded like Christ this year? Where are we in need of healing? Perhaps it's something physical like my mother's shattered leg, or COVID, or cancer. Maybe we need spiritual or emotional healing after enduring this pandemic. Maybe we need grief lifted from our hearts. The Lord has the power to heal us, whatever our scars may be. Above all, Good Friday reminds us that Jesus will heal us from the deepest wound ever inflicted, death itself. For this reason, as Thomas says, Jesus is my Lord and my God.